And he said these incredible words. He said, you're gonna figure out one day that it's harder to be kind than clever. Don't be afraid of our competitors because they're never gonna send us any money. Be afraid of our customers. I got very lucky early in my childhood. Look, we all get gifts. We get certain things in our life that we're very lucky about. And one of the most powerful one is who your early role models are.
It was your grandfather.
It was in a big sense. My mom and dad, but my grandfather too. So the gift I had is I had this incredible family.
Could you describe a little bit the role of your grandfather? Because John has mentioned it. I think it was really important
it was super important for me. He was full of wisdom. John mentioned the story about the words my grandfather gave to me at one point of it's harder to be kind than clever. That story is really powerful wisdom. Is that I made my grandmother burst into tears. And the way I did it was one of the advertisements had this figure in it. It said something like, every puff of a cigarette takes so many minutes off of your life. I think it was 2 minutes, but I can't remember. So I sat there in the back seat on this long car ride and calculated how many years she had taken off of her life. And in my 10-year-old mind, I had been extremely clever to do this. And so when I was finished with my arithmetic, I proudly announced to her how many years she had taken off of her life. And I got a reaction I did not expect with her bursting into tears. And so my grandfather stopped the car and he took me out of the car. And I had no idea what was about to happen. And he said these incredible words. He said, you're gonna figure out one day that it's harder to be kind than clever. Lottery. I won that lottery of having so many people in my life.
Did she then suggest that you focus on book business at the beginning? Being an author?
No, I picked
that was your
books.
idea?
She's a big reader, I'm a big reader, but that's not why I picked books. I picked books because there were more items in the book category than any other category, and so you could build universal selection. There were 3 million in 1994 when I was pulling this idea together. 3 million different books active and in print at any given time. And the largest physical bookstores only had about 150,000 different titles. And so I could see how you could make a bookstore online with universal selection. Every book ever printed, even the out-of-print ones, was the original vision for the company. And so that's why books.
And when did you know that Amazon is going to be something way bigger than just a bookstore?
Strangely, because I was very prepared for this to take a really long time. I knew that the books business was going to be successful in the first 30 days. I was shocked at how many books we sold. We were ill prepared. We had only 10 people in the company at that time, and most of them were software engineers. And so everybody, including me and the software engineers, were all like packing boxes. We didn't even have packing tables. And we were on our hands and knees on a concrete floor packing the boxes. 1 or 2 in the morning, I said to one of my software engineering colleagues, I said, Paul, this is killing my knees. We need to get knee pads. And Paul looked at me and he's like, Jeff, we need to get packing tables. and I was like, oh my God, that is such a good idea. The next day I bought packing tables and it doubled our productivity and probably saved our backs and our knees too.
But nevertheless, I mean, Amazon had serious crises. In 2002, you went almost bankrupt. What went wrong and what did you learn from that?
We haven't had any existential crises, but we've had a lot of kind of dramatic events. I remember early on, we only had 125 employees when Barnes & Noble, the big United States bookseller, opened their online website to compete against us, barnesandnoble.com. We'd had about a 2-year window. We opened in 95, they opened in 97. And at that time, all of the headlines, and the funniest were about how we were about to be destroyed by this much larger company. We had 125 employees and $60 million a year in annual sales. And Barnes & Noble at the time had 30,000 employees and about $3 billion in sales. So they were giant, we were tiny, and we had limited resources. And the headlines were very negative about Amazon. And the one that's most memorable was just Amazon.toast. And so I called an all-hands meeting, which was not hard to do with just 125 people. And we got in a room, and because it was so scary for all of us this idea that now we finally had a big competitor. So, and I said, look, it's okay to be afraid, but don't be afraid of our competitors because they're never going to send us any money. Be afraid of our customers. And if we just stay focused on them, instead of obsessing over this big competitor that we just got, we'll be fine. And I really do believe that. I think that if you stay focused, then the more drama there is and everything else, no matter what the drama is, whatever the external distraction is, what your response to it should be to double down on the customer, satisfying them, not just satisfying them, delighting them.